Will Michelle Obama make a surprise announcement at the DNC this week? Will Donald Trump actually be sentenced to prison in September? How will these things impact the overall condition of the United States? We'll discuss all this and more today on the Endtime Show. Welcome to the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We have open lines. We're taking your calls later in the show. The number to join us is 877-ENDTIME, 877-363-8463. And you need to share, you need to comment, you need to give us the heart, thumbs up, subscribe to the notifications, all those things. Today we have a very special guest on, Graham Allen, who we'll get to here in just a second. Before we do, though, by the way, just by saying his name, Facebook and YouTube, their heads are exploding over there. So we need you to share right now to help get the word out. They don't want us to have him on the Endtime Show. But before we get to Graham, in these crazy times, there's peace of mind and security. Security for our country, security for our leaders, security for our families. But think about this. You're not financially secure if all your eggs are in one basket. Gold and silver is a way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation. They're a physical asset that's in high demand globally, from the wealthy to central banks. And through my friends at Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. That's right, one thing you can do to secure your family savings is diversify an old IRA or 401k for no money out of pocket into an IRA in gold and silver. So visit birchgold.com/endtime and receive a free, no-obligation info kit and learn the role precious metals play in your overall savings strategy. Again, visit birchgold.com/endtime today. All right, so we're going to be talking about a surprise Michelle Obama announcement, and to help shine light on the chaos at the DNC and the Trump arrest, it's our honor to have Graham Allen join Doug and I today. Graham Allen is an Army veteran and known as one of the top 50 conservative voices in America. During his 12 years of military service, Graham was deployed twice to Iraq and discovered through social media that he could be a voice for the silent majority. In just a few years, he had billions of worldwide views. Graham hosts Dear America, one of the fastest growing shows in the country, and as a contributor for Turning Point Faith, Graham travels across the nation advocating on behalf of faith, family, and freedom. He's also a two-time published author. Like, what else can he do with his spare time, Doug? Two-time published author of America 316 and Dear America, Live Like It's 912. So, Graham, my brother, welcome to the Endtime Show.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be here. What else could I do? Take a nap. Let's do that. I'd love to do that from time to time. Been a long day of filming, but a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to do. Honored to join you guys, and hello to the End Times audience.
Hey, Graham, did you happen to notice Doug's T-shirt? No, his computer's in the way. Check this out, Graham.
Let me do this. Recognize that T-shirt?
Hey, I do recognize that T-shirt. Look at that. I love it. It looks good. Yeah.
Thank you.
You were giving away the Jeep, and Doug jumped in and tried to get that Jeep. He didn't win the Jeep, but he got the T-shirt.
I was trying to win it for my wife. I thought, I've got a Jeep. I thought this would be great. She can have a Jeep too, even though she didn't want one. I thought 2 Jeeps in the family would be great.
No, my wife is a Jeep girl as well, and so I actually really like the Jeep, but you can't hold on to it. So these are new shirts that we're working on. We're testing them out with the audience to see if anybody would actually want it or whatever. And so anyway, never ends. But I love this shirt. Love it very much. All my shirts end up going to my kids. They steal them. And so I'm constantly, it's weird. They're my shirts, but I'm constantly always looking for a shirt. And so now we just keep some at the studio here because my kids are getting big enough now. They just steal them all the time.
There you go. Well, Graham, we have so much to talk about with you. We could literally sit around and talk for hours.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Before we get into some of this crazy stuff going on here in our own country, let's talk about Dear America a little bit. I think, for me, I would imagine if I say Graham Allen, everyone out there knows who you are. But just share a little bit about you and your show for those that don't.
Well, I mean, if they don't, you say something like, the Dear America guy. And if that didn't work, they're like, the guy that screams in his truck. And everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah, I know, yeah. Man, I'm just a guy that is just trying my best to affect the world in a positive way as the best I can through the way that the Lord has given me the ability to be able to do it. And so, honestly, the fact that we took this thing from almost 10 years ago, January will be 10 years ago, we took this thing from just making these little skits in a car at the time, and then it became a truck when I got a little bit more money, and things like that, to a business now where we have the honor of hanging out and talking to people like yourselves. So we have multiple people on the team, and it's nothing short of a blessing in and of itself. And admittedly, our work and what we do can sometimes be a very soul draining job. There's a lot of evil out there, a lot of things to address and to fight constantly. And it is, it's a job that constantly, have to check on the crew, check on the guys, because, people need time to, breathe for a minute, because it all seems bad all the time, but it's necessary. And so there's times I've prayed, Lord, is it time to, it's time to hang up the mic, that'd be really cool if I could do that. And he just, people keep showing up, and he just won't give me the green light to do that. So we're here, and we're going to keep fighting. Me and my wife have a couple charity organizations. Dear America Foundation is one that helps our veterans and our first responders and our families. And then my wife has Asher House, and Asher House is for prevention into the world of sex trafficking for the kids that the system forgets. So that 18 to 23, 24 age range where these kids are in the system. They, at 18, they get kicked out of the system. And so my wife and Asher House, they are there for trauma counseling, there to help them get birth certificates, social security numbers, GEDs. If, a lot of these people are sleeping under bridges with babies, with infants. So, free diapers, hygiene kits for females across the board. And so that's what we do behind the scenes a lot. My wife doesn't get enough credit for the real work she does. I just talk behind a microphone for a living.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
Same.
Yeah.
So, Dear America, you mentioned something about potentially hanging up the mic. Now, I know that's not what's happening, because I know that we're not talking about this publicly yet, Graham, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there, at least for our audience. Is that cool?
Do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Dear America is coming to one source.
Dear America is coming to one source, and we are super excited about it. It's going to take me into my 40s, which I'm excited about, and so that's what I said. Every time, and I think you guys can probably relate to this. This is. I always, before I started doing this, I would listen to pastors talk about how exhausting it was, and the spiritual darkness against you and how draining it can be, and all of this. And I always was like, oh man, I was still in uniform at the time. I was like, oh, give me a break, man. But it's true, man. What we deal with, what you guys deal with on a daily basis to try to bring biblical truth in a world that seems like they care less and less and less about biblical truth.
Right.
And the way we do it, we really attack it more on the cultural, political side, because we live in a world that cares about that stuff now. When I was in high school, I couldn't even tell you who the governor was, much less, who a senator was and things. But our world has changed. When I say pray to put down the mic, it's kind of a joke. I realize I'm a young guy. I'm still a long way off from there, but I'm always constantly assessing with the Lord, Lord, am I going the direction that you want me to go? Am I supposed to shift? Am I supposed to change and supposed to do this? And right about the time I started praying, am I doing the right thing for this show? This amazing opportunity and everything that the Lord opened up for you guys with one source, and the way we all met and the craziness about it, it's just a door that was undeniable. And the Lord said, well, at least for the next 3+ years, you're not done. And so, we got some work to do, and I'm excited about it. I feel a new sense of fire and passion to just keep pushing. And so these next 70, 5-ish days are going to be really intense, really extreme with the election coming up. But I heard a pastor one time say, as we get older and as we achieve things in our lives, we have to redefine what the definition of winning looks like. And so you hear about ministry burnout and stuff like this all the time. What's the definition of winning? So for the next 2.5 months, my definition of winning is to show the light of Jesus through me as best I can, and hopefully delay the absolute decay and destruction of our country for just a little bit longer if we can. And so that's where we're at right this second.
Yeah. Doug, this brings up something that we've got to talk about this real quick, Graham. You know, one thing that we do is explain current events through a lens of Bible prophecy. In Daniel, in the last chapter, he's writing and he's saying, Lord, help me to understand what in the world I just wrote down. And the Lord speaks back to him and says, this isn't for you to understand, it's for the people that are in the time of the end. Well, if we go back in Daniel 7, he writes about these beasts that are pretty weird looking and almost transformer type beasts is how I like to put it. And we know those beasts represents kings or kingdoms. And since those beasts were given for the time of the end and they represent kings or kingdoms, we've long talked about how if we can identify which kings or kingdoms those beasts are connected to, we could say that we're living in the end time. No. Well, Daniel 7:4, Doug, 7:4, by the way, July 4th, maybe there's a connection, maybe there's not. Can we talk about that for just a sec, Doug?
Yeah, so, I mean, Daniel sees that beast, that lion, and it has eagle's wings on it. Daniel watches till the wings of the eagle are plucked off, and it's made to stand up on its feet as a man, and a man's heart's given to it. Well, when we look at a modern day nation that we have right now, because the Bible goes on to say that these nations will exist when Jesus comes back. So a lot of people look at that and say that's Babylon. But Babylon is no longer a nation. It doesn't exist anymore. But what nation does right now exist that has a lion as its symbol? And of course, it's Great Britain. And you know, they've got 4 of them sitting there in their square there in London. And where did the United States of America come from? From Great Britain.
This lion has eagle's wings.
Yeah, and Daniel watches till they're plucked out and made to stand on its feet as a man, and a man's heart's given to it. Our other symbol, besides the bald eagle, is Uncle Sam. You being a military guy, you know who Uncle Sam is. And so we see these modern day nations. The next one he describes is a bear, and we know Russia is known as the Russian bear. And then he's got a 4-headed leopard. A lot of people say that that's Greece, but those 4 heads were given to that beast for every time dominion was given to it. And there's one nation that's risen and fallen 4 different times. Right now, they're in their 4th and their strongest Reich, and that's Germany. And so we see these as modern day nations. And when you understand that, you look in Revelation 13, you see that these beasts have come together and they've made one beast. And that's the one world government that the Antichrist will rule from. And so that's one of the things that help us understand. That's why we get into politics and why we look at the things that are happening within politics, because we can relate it to what's going on in the book of Daniel that he was writing about, 2,000 and something years ago. So we've got all this information that we can take and we can glean from the Bible that we can add to stuff like what you talk about. That's why your program and our program can go hand in hand and be on that network, because people are going to learn from both of those shows, and that's one reason why we're excited.
Guess which beast is not part of that one world government beast? The eagle's wings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I know. Yeah. And so it's that weird conundrum that sometimes Christians find themselves in. Like, we all know how it ends, right? We all know that it has to end before it actually does end, right? And it doesn't get better. It gets worse before it gets better, right? And so a lot of Christians take that as a, kind of, Jesus is coming back one day. So, what does it really matter? And I don't read the Bible. Well, obviously, I realize at the end of the day, Jesus is coming back, and in the end, we win and all this. But I don't read it as a excuse to give up. I don't read that as an excuse to lay down and just be like, well, I guess I'll just take a nap and just let everything burn around me until he shows up. I don't think that we have a free pass, especially as Bible-believing Christians, to not fight, and whether that be philosophically, whether that be politically, whether that be literally. I don't think that we have that right to do that as Christians. I think we're supposed to be the standard setter in that regard, the first to go out there and stand up for what we know to be true and what we know to be right and what we know to be moral. And so, yeah, so, I keep saying, Lord, if you ever give me the green light to lay down the mic, I say that jokingly, but I also say it for a heart posture reason. I don't need to be famous anymore. I don't have to be the guy that's in front of the camera anymore. And, I would take the hesitant leader versus the guy who wants to be a leader, right? Like the people who want to be a leader, the people who want to be a politician, the people who want to be in charge. Those are the people that you really don't want in any of those positions at all. And
we've had a lot of the same experiences, Graham.
Yeah. And so, I mean, look at Tim Walz, the potential vice president of the Democrat Party. He was a guy who was the leader, who wasn't the right one, and abandoned his men. And the guy behind him was the reluctant leader. Is like, hey, I wasn't supposed to be this guy, but if this good dude's going to abandon us, then fine, I'll step in and I'll be the one. And you hear from his company, from all his men underneath him, that he was the best sergeant major that they ever had in that unit and in that battalion. And that's kind of my point. These, I would take the reluctant leader any day. So here I sit still behind the mic. If that makes me a leader, I guess that's cool, but I'm just doing what God told me to do. So
Amen. And one thing, when you were talking about fighting, it reminded me once again that the one thing that we feel that the Lord is calling us to do with One Source is to be that hub where like-minded folks can come together, and we're going to shine light into the darkness and ultimately help defeat this enemy. So we're excited to be working alongside you with all of that. Now, let's talk a little bit about Trump's possible arrest. You've been talking about it on Dear America a bit. They're saying that he might be actually sentenced to, or rather, he might go to Rikers as early as next month.
So here's... it's so hard. How do I answer it quickly?
You've got time.
There's a couple scenarios that I see happening here, and I heard your intro, so I don't want to go too far ahead of myself. But all the polling data that we're seeing, things do not look great for Kamala Harris. And the reason I say they don't look great is because we all know that historically, the polling data, everybody says don't trust the polls. You're exactly right. You shouldn't, because more often than not, and by more often, I mean 99.9999999% of the time, they're Democrat inflated numbers. And Polymarket is a good gauge on, betting trends and things like this, because the people that are betting on this stuff are paying a lot more attention to the numbers than you are, I promise. And 4 days ago, Kamala Harris had an 8-point advantage on Donald Trump. Around the same time she dropped her economic plan. Through these past 4 days, Donald Trump has brought it back to a dead even heat on Polymarket. Rasmussen, the RCP average has her at plus 1.4%. Now, at this exact same date in 2016, Hillary Clinton was up 6. And at this exact same date in 2020, Joe Biden was up 7.4. That's how bad Kamala Harris is doing right now. And this comes after all the media push, after all the sweetheart deals, after all the Hollywood endorsements, after every major, the Clintons, Pelosi, Schumer, President Barack Obama, all these people get up behind her, and she has this initial surge. And now she is riding into the DNC week on not a good stance. You've got all this stuff coming out from insiders and even law enforcement officers confirming that this lady's got a drinking problem, and that she was like, these are law enforcement officers confirming that the video that we're all showing, she was in fact intoxicated in that video. And if she had been driving, she would have been charged with a DUI. We're finding out her turnover rate amongst her admin and all of this stuff. She is not going into the DNC in a good place. We'll get into all the Michelle Obama stuff in a minute, but back to the jail thing. General Flynn said that he thinks Donald Trump's going to go to jail September 18th. I don't see jail happening. That's not what I see happening. And I'll tell you why. If it is Kamala Harris, let's say the DNC goes off without a hitch, although you're hearing reports now that Joe Biden is going to give his goodbye speech. We just saw U-Hauls in front of the White House today. Like, weird things are going on. And now he said he ain't staying. He's not staying for her accepting the nomination. He's out of there. They're going to vacation to California. Anyway, back to the point. If it is Kamala Harris, look at what just happened in Pennsylvania. She had an abysmal showing in Pennsylvania. Abysmal showing. There was 100 people there, maybe. It was horrible. Donald Trump goes there. It is a stadium packed full of things. So what do I think is going to happen? I think if Kamala Harris is in fact the nominee, and we can get into my worst case scenario here later on, I think what's going to happen is they have to prevent things like that from happening. We've got 76, 77 days left. They have to stop that as best they can. So I don't think he goes to jail. I think he gets put on house arrest at Mar-a-Lago, and he's not allowed to go do rallies, and he's not allowed to go physically to the debates. And he'll have to zoom in to where they can mute him, they can turn him on, they can turn him off when it's his time to speak, to try to control it as best they can for Kamala Harris. That's my little prediction there, if in fact Kamala Harris walks away at the end of this week as the official Democrat nominee.
Well, what do you think about the scenario that some people are saying that they're trying to force us into a civil war, to get people upset with the situation that Trump could possibly go to jail and get people fired up, or even some people are saying they would even have Antifa type folks dressed up as Trump supporters looking like they're starting something that would get us into a full-fledged war. Do you think there's any evidence that you see that they might be trying to do something like that?
I mean, of course, I can see it. Here's why I would say no. I'll give you a yes and a no. So the way I could see it a yes is they're trying to find any way, shape, form, or fashion to try to either A, stop the election, and or in the midst of all the chaos, something happens to Donald Trump, right? So there could be your yes scenario. Why do I think it's a no? I think that the temperature on the ground is much more not in their favor, and they know it. I think they know that if they truly tried to create a scenario where we're at this civil war, depending on the United States military to back you up, depending on the police, law enforcement agencies to back you up, I think they know that they're looking at a 65-35 scenario. 65% of the people are going to say no. And you're going to have 35% left over. I think they know that it is going to be, I mean, this isn't the 1800s anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sneak up on people these days. Everybody's got arsenals at their house, all this stuff. I don't see it going that way. When I talk about a potential civil war, what I mean by it is we're basically looking more of a civil war of principles. And what I mean by that is, if what happened in 2020 happens again in 2024, if you see this, Trump is in the lead, and then let's just say it's Kamala Harris here. Trump's in the lead, he's winning this thing, and then all of a sudden, everything shuts down. They're done counting, and you see that gigantic jump that we just saw. What was it, Venezuela? That was the exact same graph chart, that we saw with Biden. I think if that happens again, I don't think you see bullets from the right or things like that. What I see is a massive, gathering together of states for official votes of no confidence in the United States government. I think you see refusals from states to commit to paying taxes to the federal government anymore, and I see that getting ugly very quick. I don't know if I see a potential real civil war. Because, everybody's like, oh, the government's going to turn on us and they're going to send the military after us and all this other stuff. I was in the Army for a long time. The amount of time it would take for them to do something like that, 99% of the people that are on, 99.5% of the people that are even on military bases don't even have access to, and they're not allowed to even carry firearms. And if you want to, on military bases, you have to go to one place to go get the weapons. Then you have to go to another place to go get the ammo for the weapons. They're not as prepared as everybody thinks that they are. Like, I mean, that's just not the way it is. And that's why I don't see it happening. I really don't. I mean, we've had active shooters on military bases. And so that's what I see. I see more of a, you know, you talk about America doesn't make it. I'm not 100% sold that means that America is just completely destroyed. As in like blown off the map, like not here. I think what that means is, you know, maybe the United States aren't the United States anymore. Is kind of more the way that I lean a little bit, at least in the beginning. And so that's kind of what I see. I think that this is more a social media campaign. That's what I think they're trying to do. Yeah. If it is Kamala Harris, I think they're going to try to turn it into a social media campaign, try to get her in as comfortable of settings as possible where she can perform the best that she possibly can perform. You send Donald Trump to Mar-a-Lago on house arrest. He's not allowed to leave, so you remove the optics that he's doing better, and then you send her to Jimmy Kimmel and all these other people and late night host and let her do her thing. And then he's not even allowed to leave for the presidential debates. He has to Skype in for the debates, and they can literally just pause him, unpause him, mute him, unmute him whenever they want. There'll probably be a delay and a lag, and he didn't hear the question and all this other kind of stuff. That's what I see. And so here's what I do know. No matter what happens, I think America burns either literally or metaphorically either way. If Donald Trump wins, I think half the country goes insane. I think if what happened in 2020 happens in 2024, actually, I don't even think that. I'll be quiet after this one. I think that if Donald Trump loses, if we lose to these people, after everything that has happened, after all of the anti-American things, I hate it when they say it's against our democracy. We're a constitutional republic. It drives me insane when people say that. But either way, when you hear all that stuff, everything that's going on, if we lose to these evil people, I think people throw in the towel. I really do. I think people will be done.
Graham, we've got a hard break. We've got to go. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to talk a little bit about the surprise Michelle Obama announcement at the DNC, but you've got to go. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it very much. God bless you.
A voice spoke to me and said, I've got something I want to show you. I was so sure God had talked to me. And I was stunned by what I saw.
A direct fulfillment of this over 2,500-year-old prophecy. The United States will stand with Israel.
Why haven't I ever seen this before?
1/3 of humanity will die. What do these beasts symbolize?
The lion, the bear, the leopard.
The combined beast from Revelation 13 represents the end-time government of the Antichrist. Understanding the end time.
Now streaming on Endtime Plus and available to order at endtime.com/UET. Go to endtime.com/UET or call 800-ENDTIME.
What if you could understand Bible prophecy? Dave Robbins, the host of the Endtime Show's TV and radio programs, is holding a free prophecy conference near you. Gain peace and understanding about what the Bible says concerning end-time prophecy. Call 1-800-ENDTIME or go to endtime.com/events to see when Dave will be in a location near you.
Welcome back to the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We have open lines at 877-ENDTIME, 877-363-8463. We just wrapped up an interview with Graham Allen. Wonderful conversation with him, who has been hosting Dear America, reaching literally billions of people around the world. And we're excited to say that he is going to be part of One Source. All the things are still happening with that. One Source. Endtime Plus is going to rebrand to One Source on all the apps that we have. And we are launching on television as well. We are currently in Houston. We are currently in Nashville. So we're very excited about that. And Doug, I've got a little surprise announcement here, unofficial.
Okay.
Probably shouldn't talk about it yet, Doug, but I'm going to anyway.
I'm surprised you're saying something.
Well, I got a call, and I got a call earlier this morning from, if you heard the story about the One Source announcement, you all out there, you heard that I got a call from a very random guy I had never heard of before. And he said, Vince, you don't know who I am, but I followed your grandfather. I followed Endtime for 30 years. I followed you from afar. He had some job change happen. He was connected to us through a big television network, a studio down in Houston. And he said, I had a job change when they left Houston, and now I manage television channels around the United States. And God told me to call and make sure you get this one in Houston. And I told him the story about what was going on. He said, well, now I know why I called. I'm not just supposed to help you get the word out in Houston. I'm supposed to help you get the word out internationally. I've got a channel in Nashville I want to open. I've got a channel here, a channel there. And he starts telling me all these channels, and I'm going, man, I don't know what to say, but God is opening doors, and we're going to do our best to walk through.
Amen.
And we're going to trust in God, and we know that He's our provider. He's our one source. Jesus is our one source. And so we're going to follow Him as the Lord leads us. He called me again this morning, Doug. And he said, Vince, you're not going to believe this. I've got a big announcement. I've got something big to share with you, but I can't talk about it right now. But in the meantime, the Lord just opened up Louisville, Kentucky. And he's like, it's yours if you all want it. You have the channel 24/7, 365 days a year. And I'm going, well, I don't know what to say. I mean, how can you say no to that, Doug?
I don't think you can.
I think the Lord's going to provide everything that we need. So it's not free. He's not able to give it to us for free, or I would, knowing Him, He would do it. He's been so gracious, so kind. He's helped our technology people, our engineers, all that, to be able to transition, to help navigate everything, all the growing pains that we're going through. He's been wonderful. Definitely a godsend. And he calls and says, Louisville, Kentucky is opened up. There's money associated with it. We're talking, this is tens of thousands of dollars to be able to afford to be able to do this. But the Lord's our provider. We know that. And He's not opening up these doors for us to sit here frozen and not know what to do. We've been sowing a seed for decades now. And really, the church at large have been sowing seeds for thousands of years. And the Lord is opening doors for us to walk through that are a little scary at times. If you just look around, if you're like Peter and you're out there in the middle of the storm and you look around, you go, oh my word, look at these waves.
Yeah.
But no, the Lord is calling us to step forward with boldness. I call it an apostolic boldness, like they did in the book of Acts. They went and did some stuff then, but they were led by His Spirit, and that's what we're trying to do. So He said, Louisville, Kentucky is yours if you all want it. And I'm saying, well, Lord, what about the money? What about this? What about that? And the Lord's saying, I am your one source. You walk through it. And so if you are in Louisville, Kentucky, and you want to help launch One Source Network in Louisville on television, you can do that today. Endtime.com/one. Every donation to One Source in this launching season is going to be doubled up to $100,000. So your $500 is going to turn into $1,000. Your $100,000 will turn into $200,000. So anything you donate up to $100,000 at endtime.com/one is going to be doubled. And you can call 800 Endtime and donate over the phone if you'd like. You can mail in a check or money order. You can do all of that. Any way that the Lord is leading you to give, we're going to be able to process that and put it towards the launching of One Source Network. So you can be a founding contributor of One Source today by going to endtime.com/one. And specifically all you Louisville, Kentucky people in the Louisville, Kentucky area, if you believe that this is a God-given purpose like we do, you can help us. And if you can't give financially, let me tell you what the most important thing is that you can do. And even if you can give financially, we need your prayers. We need, Doug, we've been talking about spiritual warfare around here a lot.
We've been under a lot of spiritual warfare.
We sure have.
Here.
And there's no amount of money that can overcome spiritual warfare. We know that good and well. Our trust is not in gold, silver, dollar bills,
Right.
checks or money orders or wires or cryptocurrency.
Right.
That's not where our power is. That's not where our security is. It's through Jesus and Jesus alone. And so we're trusting in Him, and above any financial need, we need your prayers out there. We need you to intercede for us, Doug. That's something that a lot of churches, a lot of people don't know anything about these days. But if you go searching through the scriptures, study about prayer, we need people to have focused prayer where they're calling out not just Dave, Doug, and Vince's name, Doug. We know, you and I know very well that this isn't about the three of us whatsoever.
Absolutely.
We've got a whole team of people here that are working so diligently. They're striving for excellence in everything that they do, and they need prayer just as much as any of us that are on camera need prayer. So please remember to pray for the End Time team as we navigate these times, and pray for all of us and what we've got going on, because it's exciting. And sometimes you can look out and go, oh, this is an area we've never been in. I don't know how to pave the way. We've never done this before, Lord, but we're trusting in Him. Yeah. So again, endtime.com/one to donate to the launching of One Source. We'll be adding a Louisville, Kentucky channel, Lord willing. And if you'd like to make that happen, donate today, and your contributions will be doubled up to $100,000.
And really, Vince, I mean, look at the things that have happened over the last couple months here. You know, I mean, God's been allowing us to have opportunity to talk to people who have reaches and places that we normally wouldn't go. And so with the John Rich interview last week, and the Dr. McCullough interview a few weeks ago, and we just introduced everybody to Graham Allen. Of course, Dave's been on Graham Allen's program before, and End Time's had a voice there a little bit, but now he's going to be kind of partnering with us on One Source. And so that's why one of the reasons why we want to bring him on today was to introduce him to all of you, so that you would know where he comes from and where his mind is, and that he follows the Lord. And so, you know, he's just trying to be led by God's Spirit as well. And we don't know who else God's going to bring in the mix of this. I mean, God's the one that's doing this. Vince told you the other day, he just goes to Costco and a guy walks up to him and says, hey, you know what? I told the Lord today when I was at the gym, if I happen to see you at Costco today, I was going to give you a donation to be matched. And he gave Vince a check for $500. So, I mean, these things are happening because God is in the middle of this, and we've always kept God in the middle of it. None of us ever thought that we would be here, Vince. I never thought that I'd be sitting at this desk. This is not where I'm comfortable. This is not where I want to be, but this is where the Lord has me. And, you know, I love it because I get to teach and share with people, but this is not my comfort zone at all. And so we're just following the Spirit of God, and that's what we're trying to do every single day. So.
Doug, one thing my pastor helped me realize, our pastor helped me realize some time ago was that we are not called to comfort.
All right.
We are not called to comfort.
No.
And if you find yourself in an uncomfortable position, you say, Lord, why are you doing this? That might be where He's called you to be. Mm-hmm. If you get comfortable, you might want to be concerned.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I look through the scriptures and I see what all the disciples had to go through, and when I see what God's people from the beginning have gone through, I don't see anywhere where one of those prophets were kicked back in a hammock drinking sweet tea.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds pretty comfortable to me. Mm-hmm. Maybe they did it every once in a while. There's probably a scripture where they're laying around doing something, but somebody's going to send it to me. I probably don't have it right, but they weren't called to be comfortable forever.
Right.
They weren't called to live a life of leisure and just no problems, no challenges, no obstacles. You know, in the middle,
11 of the 12 died for the message they were teaching.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
And I thought about the three Hebrew boys. They went through the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We've all heard that story. They went through the fire. Mm-hmm. But so you can go through trials, but that doesn't mean that I said you're not called to live a life of leisure.
Yeah.
I feel like, I live a life full of peace, Doug. Mm-hmm. I don't have everything that I want to have.
Right.
Some days I don't have everything that I need.
Yeah.
Or at least that I think I need. But again, Jesus is my one source, and I'm going to walk through these times, and there might be fire all around me, But one thing that I can know and have trust in and have faith in that can get me through any trial is that he's walking with me, or I'm walking with him, one of the two.
Right.
sometimes it feels like I'm alone, but I know he's there. And even though it may not be comfortable sometimes, I can walk through things just trusting that God is there and that he's going to make a way when there seems to be no way. He's always done that.
Yes.
And sometimes it may not end the way I think it should, but sometimes it's not over yet, and I think it's over. And I posted this earlier, Doug, but the amount of all-encompassing peace that's available to me, that's available to you, everyone out there, it's available to you. The amount of peace that's available to you, you would be astonished by. I do believe many people out there would be stunned, Doug, because people are walking through trials, like Graham talked about in the interview. There's chaos everywhere you look now, but there is peace that's available for you that can calm all that out. You don't have to live a worried life. Doug, all the anxiety, all the things that's going around more than it's ever gone around, I'm saying, I realize anxiety is a real thing, Doug. At the same time, Jesus has peace that passes all understanding.
Right.
Jesus has peace that can get you through a fiery furnace. Jesus has peace that can get you through a parted Red Sea or a Egyptian army that's chasing you.
Right.
And the list goes on and on. His peace is sufficient. His grace is sufficient.
Yeah.
So I'm going, man, why don't you stand up and speak the name of Jesus over your circumstances and walk forward with bold faith, because the times that we're living in, man, Doug, I feel this. We talk about it off air a lot. What we feel right now in the spirit realm, what we feel in the atmosphere of our country and of our surrounding area is just a new level. There's something happening where we're going to have to go to a new level.
Yeah.
It's in the spirit realm, it's in the physical realm, and the time to sit around and be puny, wimpy Christians, there was never a time for that. But it's really not the time for that now, Doug.
Yeah.
We are walking through unprecedented
We're
times.
soft here in the United States because of the leisures that we have and because of the availability of everything we have at our fingertips. We get soft because of that. Third world countries where people are having these moves of Jesus and huge miracles are happening there, it's because they have to rely on Jesus every day. America has gotten to the point to where we feel like we're doing things and we're not relying on Jesus every day. We've got to get back to that place, Vince, where that's our one source. That is what we're counting on is Jesus Christ, and not on our own abilities or what we can have here in this country.
Put it in the comments. Jesus is my one source. Doug, we didn't even get to Michelle Obama's surprise announcement at the DNC. If you want to hear about it, you're going to have to go over and search Dear America with Graham Allen and hear what he had to say on his show this morning. We'll be right back after this break.
They that understand what is taking place will instruct many.
Except a man is born again, he can enter or see the kingdom of God.
I don't care what label you've been given or what label you've given yourself. You are essential. You still matter.
This is a journey, and when we get to the other side of that, that's where our prize is. That's where our reward is.
End time is not going anywhere.
Welcome to the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. Open lines at 877-ENDTIME, 877-363-8463. We'll be getting to the phones momentarily, Doug, but we got a few announcements we need to make. Dave and Jana Robbins this Thursday, Doug, a Thursday, a conference on a Thursday. I've got to pull up the details here. I have just been so distracted in that last segment as we begin to talk about
Fort Smith, Arkansas. I know that much.
Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's
yeah.
at endtime.com/events. It's going to be Thursday at 7 p.m. Fort Smith, Arkansas. Make plans to come out. If you're anywhere in the Fort Smith area, you need to be there. Dave and Jana Robbins will be there. It's one night only, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Make plans. Give us a call at 800-END-TIME, and we'll be able to help you out, or go to endtime.com/events. And then, Doug, the following week after that, me, you, and Dave are going to be in Blue Eye, Missouri, just south of Branson.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be doing a live recording of the Jim Bakker Show. All three of us will be on the show. 3 hours of recording, Doug. Y'all been asking for 2 hours. We're going to give you 3 hours. It's not live, though. Yeah. It's a live recording. They're not streaming it live. And so if you want to be part of 3 hours with me, you, and Dave, and the Jim Bakker crew,
wow,
you'll have to come on out to Blue Eye. It's open to the public, so you can come in studio and watch the show. Go to endtime.com/events. That information is listed there. I'm actually preaching while we're there.
Nice.
Because like Graham, I don't have anything else to do either, so I might as well. That following Sunday, I'll be in Springfield, Missouri. So all that's listed at endtime.com/events. Go check it out. Again, I want to tell everybody real quickly before we get to the calls, it was a pleasure to have Graham Allen on. First 30 minutes we spent talking with him about all the things. We didn't get around to the Michelle Obama surprise announcement at the DNC that he talked about on his show this morning. So if you want to hear all about that, go search Dear America with Graham Allen on all of the channels, Rumble, YouTube, everywhere, Facebook, everywhere that streaming happens, he is there. So search Dear America with Graham Allen, and his show today talked about the surprise announcement that people are speculating will happen at the DNC regarding Michelle Obama. So do check that out. And then also, one source in Louisville, Kentucky, that's a potential thing. We need your help on that. Costs tens of thousands of dollars to make happen overall. A whole lot of time. You know, there's 24 hours of programming. We do 1 hour now. There's 24 hours of programming for that, Doug. And so put Louisville, Kentucky in the comments if you'll at least pray for that. You may not be able to give financially, but if you at least pray about that endeavor, put Louisville, Kentucky in the comments. All right, Doug, we ready to get to the phones?
Let's do it.
We've got to start in Missouri. Mark is watching there. Mark, welcome to the End Time Show. Before you talk, I got to tell you something. You ready for this special information?
Yeah.
Well, as you probably know, you have heard us say it over the years, is we generate a list of 20 names from our system every single morning, and our team comes together and we mention people by name from our system. And this morning, one of the first people on the list was Mark from Missouri. And so our whole team in our morning prayer, we start at 8 a.m. Central Time. We called your name out. We prayed for you and your family. We prayed that you would have prosperity in every aspect of your life. And so I just wanted to let you know that we prayed for you this morning.
Well, thank you all very much. I know you all did that once before for me, and hopefully everything will work out good in the end, right?
It always does.
Well, you know, I got a couple of comments. You know, a couple weeks ago, I made a mention about, maybe the United States is going to get 4 more years of these people. Maybe it's going to take something like that to really wake people up, you know? Because, you know, I'm not a preacher, but I do tell everyone I know, if I can slip it in, I mention the word end time and tell them how to get on and find out what they need to find out. And I got a lot of people that I know that I'm hoping that are watching the show when they can, but you know, I get all excited and I kind of get depressed sometimes because nobody else seems to be excited as me about certain topics, like the John Rich show the other day. And, you know, everybody's got an excuse, you know, they got to work, or they got pickleball, or they got something they got to do that interferes with it. So I kind of get discouraged, you know, to try to lead people to listen to you guys. Like I said, I'm not a preacher by any means. So I don't know. Maybe
you sound a lot like a preacher to me, Mark. You may not do it from a pulpit, but you're preaching wherever you're at.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, but you try to do what you can. But maybe that prayer you guys gave me will, boost me up to where maybe I won't worry about. You can only do so much, and you can't fix stupid. So,
Well, the thing about it, Mark, is like Pastor Baxter used to say all the time, is you do your best and you let God do the rest. So you're doing your best, and that's what you always need to remember. And if we meet God halfway, He's going to help us out. So you got that going for you for sure.
Well, there you go. You just lifted me right there.
Well, praise the Lord.
I love you guys. You need to come to Kansas City area.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what we can do. I don't know.
All right. Well, any more comments or questions, Mark?
No, not right now. I mean, I could go on for hours, but I know you got other people want to talk. So, God bless.
All right. God bless you. Thank you so much for your call. We're going to go to Texas now. Ronnie's watching there. Ronnie, welcome to the Endtime Show.
Yes, I would like to ask, what do you think about the possibility of China maybe attacking America, Russia, before the election with all that's going on with Trump? I'll hang up and listen and see what y'all say.
All right. Well, thank you, Ronnie. I would say there's always a chance of that. I mean, one thing that we know, and a lot of people try to connect China to the dragon in Revelation 13 when it says that the dragon gave this world government its power, its seat, and great authority. But we know because of Revelation 12:9 that the dragon is actually the devil or Satan, and that's what it says in the scripture. So we can't go to the very next chapter there and look at that and then say, oh no, it's not the devil here, it's China, but people try to do that. So a lot of people that are out there trying to say, that the destruction of America is coming and that China and Russia is going to bring that to us, we don't see it that way, because we do see the eagle's wings in Revelation 12:14. It's something that I forgot to mention to Graham Allen a while ago that I wish I would have thrown in there as well when he talked about, the future of America. We see the future of America as we're going to continue to do what we do right now. And what we're doing right now is helping to protect Israel to the best of our ability right now with the administration that we have in charge. But we have several warships there. We talked about it a lot last Monday when I was on the program, and we talked about Tisha B'Av being that day when that attack could come. There was information today that I had pulled up that an earthquake happened on that day in Syria, and they think that Syria and Lebanon, those areas where it got hit, that kept them from doing an attack that they wanted to do. When Hezbollah wanted to do the attack that day, that earthquake actually destroyed some things that they were going to attack with. We don't know for sure. This is speculation right now that things might have been damaged by that. But we're looking at the possibility of this Third World War every day in the media and what we're seeing. So right now you've got what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine. That situation seems to be heating up a little bit now. We've had the Ukrainians come into Russia with foot soldiers. They captured some Russians, or at least they say they have. There's been video out there of that. They say they have a dirty nuclear bomb, that they're going to blow up a nuclear reactor there in Russia. So that's kind of heating up. China and Taiwan could heat up. But we can see, because these are all allies, Iran, China, Russia, we could see them wanting to come together, not only destroy Israel, but destroy America as well. So the possibility of that happening, Vince, is, I would say that that's a pretty good possibility. Will it happen before the elections? I can't say. I don't know. I mean, this crazy world we live in right now, anything could happen before the elections. We talked to Graham a little bit about it a while ago, about the possibility of a civil war because of the arrest of Trump. Could they be trying to push that so they can push these elections back or stop the elections altogether? We don't know. We're going to have to wait, because we don't have the answers in Scripture to tell us that. So it would just be speculation on our part.
So no scriptures, but it does appear that it's possible. Of course, with Taiwan involved, it's just like, who knows? Is Russia going to attack the United States? Maybe. We don't know. Everything is speculation. So
right.
We know that's very clear on our end, and there's some things we can point to. We know a war is coming that's going to kill a third of mankind.
Right.
We know that some major world powers are going to have to be involved for that. We know there's a battle of Armageddon coming.
Yeah.
There's some other wars that you've mentioned that we've talking about more. That the Antichrist will be involved with. So there's a lot in the works from what we can see in Bible prophecy, but specifics like that today we don't know.
I could really see, Vince, if Israel, if this Israeli-Iran conflict really kicks into high gear and we get involved in that, I could see that causing her allies, which are Russia and China, to get involved either indirectly or directly with the United States, because they actually have the firepower that could, be equal to the United States. Now, I don't think that everybody is nuclear bomb happy and everybody would want to do that at this point, but that's what we think that Six Trumpet War is a nuclear bomb or a nuclear war, because it kills 1/3 of mankind. So we know that's on the horizon. Is that going to happen before the election or after? We don't know, but we know it's going to happen sooner or later.
One thing, Doug, that might be coming to One Source is a daily news show where we're able to give people the news that is legit and not so opinion-based, but literally like the old days where they would just report what the news was.
Yeah.
And there's not all this sponsored by so-and-so in there to help determine what the story looks like.
Sure.
But just news that's being shared. With One Source, a lot of things are coming, Doug, that we've never done before here at End Time. But again, God is leading us to do things that we've never done, and so we're going to walk through those doors as the Lord leads, and the revival that's coming with it, we can feel it. It's brewing. Yeah. The revival that's coming is going to be awesome. And so, yes, we're on television in Houston and Nashville right now, and perhaps Louisville, Kentucky is coming. I'm believing that somebody's going to step out and say, I'm just going to sponsor the whole first year. They're just going to pay for the whole thing to go in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm believing that's going to happen, Doug. And I don't know, what city should we come to next? I've got to start praying about something specifically, like, Lord, open the doors for what city? Yeah. Let us know. Where should One Source Network come next? What city in the United States? Doug, there's also potential of airtime in Israel again, but I'll leave that for later. I want to hear from y'all out there, Houston, Nashville, and the potential of Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, am I saying it right? Let's talk about that too. I think it's Louisville.
I think it is too. I mean, that's always the bat that I had, Louisville Sluggers. So
so we'll see. Somebody will correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but let us know what you think. What city should we come to next? Of course, all this will be available streaming. Right now, it's watch.endtime.com, Endtime Plus, but that's going to change to One Source soon. So be on the lookout for One Source coming to your area very soon. Pray. Hey, if you pray and the Lord opens it up, we'll walk through those doors, Doug. We're not afraid to walk through those doors.
Not at all.
So you check in with the Lord and tell him where we need to go, and if he opens the doors, we're going to walk through that. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Endtime Show. Don't forget, you can go to watch.endtime.com and endtime.com and enjoy thousands of hours of content that's totally free because of partners like you that are giving every single month at endtime.com/give. If you want to be a founding contributor to One Source, you can go to endtime.com/one. Every donation there up to $100,000 is going to be doubled right now. So don't miss out on that. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time.